Welcome to Amplify, the video series where we interview thought leaders about best practices, trends, and their experiences in creating engaging campaigns. Today, I'm speaking with Rich Coyne, Associate Vice President for Institutional Advancement at SUNY Cortland. Rich is an accomplished professional with extensive experience in higher education and particularly overseeing fundraising initiatives. Rich, we have had the pleasure of working with you on creating video campaigns, and we're so excited to speak with you today. Welcome to Amplify.
Thanks, Elin. Appreciate that warm welcome. Looking forward to being here today.
Fantastic. Well, I'd love to hear a little bit about your own background and how you ended up in the field of higher education.
Sure. So actually, my background started in the hospitality management arena or food industry. Growing up on Long Island, I probably worked in a dozen different restaurants just because I wanted to have a unique experience. Playing football in college, I had to leave early during the summer, so it allowed me to, when I did come back, I was able to be flexible with what restaurants I got to work with, and that history, that experience allowed me to then get my first job at my alma mater. I did graduate from SUNY Cortland in 2007. I went back after getting a master's degree in 2009 from Stevens Institute of Technology. I came back to my alma mater at Cortland in 2010 to run our Lynn Park 68 SUNY Cortland Alumni House, which is a bed and breakfast and special event facility. And I did that for 4 years. And it was in 2012 when the house was celebrating its 100-year anniversary, and being an old Victorian home in desperate need of repairs, I had my first taste of higher ed fundraising. Ran a small mini campaign. We had to repoint the chimney that cost about $15,000. So the way we did it was we sold spots in a commemorative book. We were doing a commemorative 100-year anniversary book, and for $100, you got your name in there as a benefactor. That ended up raising $20,000, and we were able to do the project on the chimney. But it was a cool experience for me. I got to meet a lot of donors that was very passionate about not only SUNY Cortland, but the Parks Alumni House. And I had a vice president at the time that said, "Hey, you do really well in this industry." And so she took me under her wing. And then around 2014, I became a major gift officer for Cortland. And then from there, I just kept, growing. Became the senior gift officer or director of development, overseeing our leadership in major gift teams. And then in 2020, I became the associate vice president, overseeing all of the fundraising operations. So, in a nutshell, that's my background in higher ed.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm glad I asked that question. I didn't know the details of your background.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for sharing that. So now in your job, you're coordinating a lot of fundraising initiatives. What do you find rewarding about that? What interests you about that?
For me, and I think I can speak for my colleagues as well, the reason why we get into this work is because of the impact that the work that we have on the life of campus, and we're the conduit between a donor and, say, a student or a faculty member in regards to providing support. We like to say that donors are our lifeblood of philanthropic support for the institution. Knowing that we can visit with someone that's willing and able and very interested in wanting to whether create their legacy, maybe the legacy of a spouse, maybe honoring a favorite faculty member or staff member by endowing a scholarship or a program fund or naming a space on campus, and knowing that those dollars are going to directly impact the student life experience or even provide the cost of attendance for a student to come to Cortland and really change their life. They may be first generation college student, and now their whole family experience is changing now because they're able to go get a degree and get a job thereafter in a career that's going to help provide for them and their family. So, this type of work is very rewarding and very fulfilling. It takes a lot of time and patience. But fortunately, at Cortland, we have wonderful donors that are very loyal, that love the institution, that love their time as students at Cortland. And then we have donors that never went to Cortland, but they're local community members that, appreciate what we're doing and believe in our mission. So um, it's just, it's a wonderful field to be in for those that, like to help others.
Yeah, it sounds rewarding. It sounds like it's a lot of fun. Do you have like a favorite thing that you do as part of your job?
I do. My favorite thing to do is go and visit with our donors face to face. It was very interesting during COVID, where we pivoted to doing Zoom calls. And actually, when the pandemic happened, we were just doing check-in phone calls. It wasn't even about asking donors for support. It was about seeing how they were doing, how their families were, during those challenging times. Shortly thereafter, we were able to roll out our student emergency fund, and a lot of the donors that we had reached out to, were now reaching back out to us to say, "Hey, how can we help in this initiative? You showed care for us, and we want to make sure that these students, have the ability to stay in class and stay on their career path or their academic path." Um, so I think the one-on-one connection is what I most enjoy. I'll share, one of my first stories, or one of my first donor experiences was with a 1949 grad who I still have the enjoyment of talking to on the phone. Not able to visit as often these days, but we were able to work together in creating a scholarship for a student, and the scholarship is in memory or in honor of her and in memory of her husband that had passed away. And after that scholarship was created, and it was for an early childhood education major. She lives in Florida, so I coordinated with the student ahead of time that was the first recipient of our scholarship to get on a FaceTime. So this is like before Zoom before Zoom became popular through the pandemic. So this was, I want to say, in like 2015 or 16, and um, being able to have that student interact with this donor, that are 60, 70 years apart, same major, and to hear, the interaction and to witness that too, that I was able to help facilitate that exchange and that experience. And when we hung up with the student, the donor turned to me and said, "Can we do that again soon?" So that again, that's just goes to why I enjoy the work that we do.
Oh, that's kind of giving me goosebumps hearing that story. How do you keep someone engaged for that long? That's amazing that she's still feeling connected to her university after all that time.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and it's not just Rich Coyne. It's the work of our alumni engagement team as well. It's the work of our president. We have a very, very outgoing and available president. So there's different what we call cultivation tools to make sure the donor feels the love. And again, it's not just myself reaching out. We have students reaching out. The fact that she did do a student scholarship each year, she gets a letter from the student. Depending on timing and whatnot, we sometimes can facilitate a Zoom session now. But it's the work too of our, like I said, our alumni engagement team. So Florida is one of our most populated state of alumni, and we make it a point to be down there at least once a year for different alumni gatherings. She was attending those in the past when she was more able to get around a little bit more. So yeah, it's not just the work of myself; it's the work of an entire team.
So, Rich, I have a question about strategy. Right now, all of us are bombarded with so many different messages. On if you think about going online or watching TV. And many of these messages are asking us to spend our money in some way. So, you, as someone who's driving these campaigns and these initiatives, what do you have to think about with your messaging that cuts through the clutter and connects with your prospective donor in a way that, leads them to action? That's got to be a very, it's got to be a challenge.
Yeah, it definitely can be. I mean, there's, just from a charitable standpoint, there's a slew of different charities out there, right? That's in need of support and deserving of support. For us regarding the messaging, I think, you know, donors want to hear from those that it's going to receive, it's going to be most impactful, or it's going to receive their funding, right? So they want to hear from students directly. They want to hear from faculty and staff. So making a point that the message is coming from those individuals. So whether we have students provide anecdotes, whether we have a faculty member help write a solicitation letter. Our president, as I was saying, is very accessible, and making sure that if there was a specific initiative that we need, a good amount of support for, and we know of a donor that has the capacity to make what we call a major gift, it's important that once the message goes out to that individual, that the president is also following up, with us there with him, on that ask, or at least providing a little bit more information on why, we'd be very fortunate to receive their support, and how impactful or how important it would be if they were, so inclined to consider making a gift to help maybe kick it off, or help finish off. Without their support, we're not going to get to the end goal. So the strategies around is making sure that, one, and that it's a concise message that can speak to those that maybe have an affinity to that area, because maybe it's our outdoor education program at Racket Lake, maybe it's our physical education program, or maybe it's athletics. So we're going to make sure that we're talking to those individuals that had an experience at Racket Lake, or maybe was a major or phys ed major, or played a sport at the institution. And then from there, you're either getting a coach involved, you're getting a director involved, or, as I mentioned, you get the president involved.
Yeah, I mean, that all makes a lot of sense, just to get the attention of the people you're trying to reach, on that personal level, like you said before. What do you think, like, if you think about successful campaigns you've been involved with, or even successful campaigns you've seen, maybe people have solicited you, what do you think are like some of the common characteristics of campaigns that work well?
Sure. Well, the biggest thing is, you got to make it easy for folks to give. So if we're talking
Yep,
about soliciting the masses, and it's somebody that's a loyal donor that gives you $200, $300 a year, you have to make that very easy for them to be able to, once they receive that solicitation, to be able to act on it right then and there, and make that gift. I've come across some charities where it's actually difficult to be able to do that, believe it or not, because there's multiple steps in the way. So you want to be able to make sure that it's easy, for folks to be able to act now, and provide that support. Being able to showcase the fact that others are giving to the initiative
mm,
as well.
right.
So I mean,
Kind of
I
like
think
social proof.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
I think about our challenge days that we do, and we have a meter there and showing that over 1,000 donors have given thus far. So having that, that social proof, as you said, or showing that there's others that have bought into the cause.
right.
Um,
Like, we're this close to the goal.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and again, I think it has to be clear and understandable too. Like, you need X amount of dollars to be able to do this with. Um, Sometimes we lose, folks lose sight of what the overall goal is, and what you need the funds for, because they try to put in too many fancy words that just really, muddies the message a bit. So I think just being concise, being direct, those are campaigns that I find tend to be the most successful.
I think that that applies to marketing in general. Just be clear about your message and don't complicate it.
Right. Don't
Um,
complicate it. Yeah.
yeah. Are there other ways? Like obviously, you count the money. You gauge the success of a campaign on monetary donations. Are there other things you're also looking for that you measure or that would help you consider if something's been successful?
Sure. So we have throughout the year, or each year, I should say, we have different metrics. We have an alumni engagement metrics. Um, what that includes is the number of times, say, a particular individual either reaches out to us, maybe with a question, or if someone attends an event, someone volunteers at an event, or volunteers to come back to speak with students. Um, that we know that they read our newsletter. So those are different metrics that we use, from a standpoint of how engaged our alumni are. But from a fundraising, it's more than just dollars and donors. I mean, when we're in our moves management meetings every 2 weeks during a campaign, that's what we're focusing on. But there's so much intangible pieces that are not brought up. Somebody, for example, has a connection with a student. He or she, the alum that comes back and speaks at, we have an executive in residence, we call it, where we invite folks, in a specific industry to come back to share their experience at Cortland and share their experience now. We actually have Greg Sankey, who's the Southeast Conference Commissioner, coming to campus at the end of March. And he's going to be able to talk about his experience at Cortland, but also how he ended up getting into athletics and becoming a commissioner. Once that person is on campus and has an experience with a student, where that student is then able to either stay connected with that individual, or maybe the student is inspired by that message to then be able to consider a career path, or take the next step. Maybe it's like, what, I heard from Greg, he did an internship at the NCAA. So I need to, maybe let me look into that. So, you know, yeah, it's wonderful when, that's why we're doing this work, right? It's to be able to raise support for our students and our faculty and staff. But when it goes beyond that, when that donor, when that alum is coming back and sharing a message, and that's going to then you know, trickle down or branch out um, to impact that student life. Those are things that, yeah, you can measure it, but those are the things that go beyond, just a dollar.
I think hearing about those connections and those kind of those stories, hearing about how the students are telling the donors the stories, the donors are coming back, speaking. I think there's something there that I hope will lead me to my next question about using video. And do you think that video is an important component of a successful campaign? And if it is, why would you say so?
Yeah, no, video is very important because I think you're able to share your message to the masses, and you're doing it in a way that potentially, depending on the type of video that you're doing, it may have tremendous shelf life. So, as we worked with White Knight and doing a campaign wrap-up video, we were able to share that video on the celebration of our campaign um, at a wonderful event down at Yankee Stadium. But then after that, that video now lives on our website. So, video has, I would say, tremendous impact in being able to share your message more globally. You're pulling on multiple senses, visual, audio. You can hear directly from those that have received that support. So making sure that you're interviewing, the students, the faculty, the coach. We even had in our wrap-up video, we had our missions director we interviewed him because he every day he knows the impact that scholarship has on the life of our students. So it was smart of my team to think about including that gentleman because who better can speak to it, right? Um, so yeah, that's what video can do. Video can bring multiple people together that are the fortunate recipients of that support and being able to share that message again concisely, uh, with a goal in mind of why it's important for donors to give back. So yeah, I think video resonates way more than the old ways of writing solicitation letters.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of ways that's definitely true. Like when you're looking at a video, are there factors that you consider when evaluating whether that video is effective or engaging? Like, what are you looking for? Or how do you know? Sometimes it's hard to define this.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, of course. And I mean, there's ways, nowadays with like click rates and things of that nature where wow, that video actually was seen by 5,000 people. That's pretty impressive for us. Um, if there's a call to action, I think about our sizzle video that we did with you all during the Cortica challenge, where there was a call to action, where there was a text to give component to it. We were able to measure how many of those individuals were able, that saw the video and then call to action, made a gift thereafter. Um, so there are those elements that you can build into it, and then there's word of mouth too, where we hear from donors saying, that was a really nice video. I'm glad I decided to support that campaign. We've done videos on our own using another software platform where a student can submit a video and it goes directly to the donor, and that's a wonderful tool to be able to have, and it's very very personal. So video can be very personal when it needs to be, if it's intended to be, shown or sent to just a few donors or a few people.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about video is, like you said, I too really enjoy one-on-one conversations with people, connecting with people. And there is a way to use video as a tool to get that same feeling. No, it's not the same as being in a room with them, but you can kind of, you can kind of get the same results as if you're speaking to people one-on-one in a video
Yeah.
when it's used in the right way.
And you're right, Ellen. One thing that comes to mind is like when we go to, we being fundraisers or gift officers, when we visit with somebody and we ask for their consideration or support, or say a proposal we put in front of them, having a video to be able to follow up with more information on that area of support, I do find it to be helpful. Now, a lot of the times, my strategy is, if it's say supporting something related to athletics, making sure the coach is involved at some level of that engagement. But maybe it's earlier on in the stage of that cultivation process where you're just about to solicit the individual. And as much as we try to be experts across all areas of campus, I mean, it's almost impossible, right? So having video be able to tell that story further, I think is just a great tool, you know, in the tool belt to be able to share with prospective donors. So yeah, it goes beyond um, just that face to face, because I do think that you can be able to share more impact when there's a video, about a specific area that you want to be able to provide more information on.
Yeah, there's certainly a broader impact, for sure. If we're speaking now to marketing professionals or other professionals who are interested in working with people like you in higher education, do you have any advice for those individuals who might want to, find a way to work with colleges and universities?
Yeah, I think
How can we serve you
right,
better?
right.
Yeah.
I think it's always great to reach out and find out what projects that they may be working on. Being in a campaign or getting ready for a campaign, kind of understanding where that life cycle is, or that timetable of maybe when the next campaign is. That's for the, that would be for like the larger stuff. But there could be, initiatives that are happening each year. Maybe there's something related to, to scholarships. We actually we did this all in house, but during COVID, we did a webinar on the impact of scholarships. Now that could easily been like an interview exchange like this is on, we have a professional in our area talking about how easy it really is, how easy it is to set up a scholarship. We had a donor at the event, or the virtual event, talk about the importance and why we had two donors, have elected to support students through scholarship. And then I think we even had the admissions director. So, being able to understand maybe what some of the needs are of individuals, just reaching out, coming up with some ideas that, sometimes we're so laser focused on the work that we do. And though we have support groups and, we have a, collaboration with the other associate vice presidents of our SUNY comprehensives. We try to get together, virtually every few months to basically share best practices. But, those that are in this field from the marketing side, you can share what other institutions are doing. And it's because we're not competing against each other in regards to our donor base. It's not like you're kind of giving any inside tips to me that somebody at Rockport would be doing. But you may have just finished off working on a special campaign like the scholarship example I just gave at a different institution and said, hey, will you all have a need like that for this? Here's a quick video of what that looked like. I think being able to be a resource and allowing other creative streams of communication to occur, I think would be a great resource. Because as I mentioned, we're some shops like us, we don't have dedicated marketing to assist with fundraising. We have a wonderful marketing team at Cortland, but most of their work is focused on admissions pieces. What's revenue generating for the institution, and we do get the support, but being able to have someone, almost there on a few times a year, giving some suggestions and ideas on how to, better, reach out to donors or how to better share your message. I think that would be beneficial for folks to hear.
This has been a wonderful conversation. So much great information and insight. Rich, thank you for being our guest here on Amplify. It was wonderful talking with you. And, we look forward to continuing to work with you guys.
Thanks, Ellen. Look forward to it as well.